and things are happening. So there's not a ton. Last meeting was just kind of pay some bills and a couple other ordinance updates that we've been talking about for the last few months, just going through the process. But a couple things we highlighted the other night. One was the $650,000 facade grant that we got for Fifth Avenue South on the Ankeny building, and then the building that State Farm is in right now. So that is a CDBG grant that comes through the state. They have a facade program. We've been successful in the past with Wilson Building, Creative Design Works, Elite Graphics, the Hallmark Building, the building Mr. Kettleson owns down there on Fifth Avenue, and then also Restrelli's had some work in that one, right? So we've done a good job with that. You can only have one of those open at a time, so you got to close out that grant and then you can reapply. This one we applied a couple times. We ended up getting it, so $650,000 is going to be going into those facades. The final renderings and designs are not completed yet, but that should hopefully be released soon as they work with the engineering firm. So.
When you do this, are these buildings, are there some coordination, so there's some commonality? Is there some, I guess, design features to make the block look similar? I can't make it all look the same, but for some similarities between all the buildings? Yeah,
we do want some similarities through them. These buildings are a little bit different, just in the sense of, the Ankeny is not just like a front of one building. It goes around the corner, so there's like, I can't remember how many addresses are actually on that building. It's like 8 or 9 or something like that. So this one will be a little different because it's gonna kind of wrap around and not only be Fifth Avenue South, but part of that 2nd Street area. But yeah, we do want things to look somewhat uniform, but the owners are also involved in the design of this as well. So their input and their thoughts on what they want their building to look like is important as well. So I guess, yes, we want some commonalities, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll end up that way, so to speak.
And all this, I guess, and you mentioned a number of buildings have done the work. So you see what it looks like to have completed facades. They can go down and act. But again, we were just talking a little bit ago about Music on the Avenue, which is right in that block. People can see some of that work, make things look a little better, hopefully to fill some of the empty businesses and help improve some of the ones that exist in those buildings, because they're not all vacant.
Yeah, correct. And it can't be a vacant building that does the facade either. It has to be something that's active and being used. So that's part of the process going through there, because that I guess that's what we want to focus on. And then also there's some ownership of the property owner too, because they have to put money into this. So the state matches some, the city matches some, and then the property owner has to as well.
Kind of a three-pronged funding. Yeah. Which makes, so the owners, we often hear about vacant owners of buildings. These are people who have to actually put some money in.
Correct. Those are the folks that we're going to, I guess in theory you could do a vacant building, but we're approaching the owners that are actively, working on their buildings, keeping up their properties. Those are the ones that we're trying to help in this process. So, yeah.
Interesting. Good. So the city gets some money.
Yeah, and more money we got. Just a quick highlight on Fifth Avenue South there. We received, it's just over $1 million, I think, to tear down that portion of the YMCA building. It'd be the newer portion. We've now separated the two buildings so we can go ahead with the demo on the other side, and the EPA gave us $1 million, and that's the similar grant to what we got to take down the properties that were on South 4th Street that fell down there in that block there. So same grant program. Tammy Johnson, our community development director, has created quite the rapport with the EPA and bringing in some money in that aspect to help us with the remediation of some of that stuff, which is good, because it's just right around $1.5 million to tear down that portion. Obviously, there's asbestos, there's mold, there's so many nasty things in that building, so it's going to take a lot of extra work to get it to the ground. So.
That's kind of been an ongoing process, and you've had meetings gathering input. I guess, what's the hope for that site? Maybe if you can kind of review, I know you've probably talked about it before. You tore down a section. Now you're tearing down what people, I guess, where the pool was, if people go back and remember was there. Why are those being torn down, the other building left? What's kind of the hope for that? I know the city's done some surveys, they've done some meetings.
Right.
If you can kind of maybe review some of that for people. they see this work now and they scratch their heads going, what's going on, even though it's been talked about for a long time.
Yeah, so the part where the pool was and all that stuff had to be torn down because the roof failed in a portion of that, and the building just got too far to save, basically, that portion of it. The older part, I think it was like 1904 or 1903 or whenever that portion was.
The oldest part.
Yeah, that part there, that's right on the corner. The bones of that are really still good. The roof is still intact. Everything's fine in that building, so it's able to be redeveloped. What that's going to be redeveloped in, we don't really know whether it's commercial or housing or whatever it could be. As we get that torn down, we'll be trying to reach out to developers and see if there's someone that has an appetite for redeveloping that. I'm kind of on the fence a little bit. When we had this discussion several months ago, I was kind of leaning on the side of just clearing all of it. The building's not on the historic registry. My opinion only. I don't think that building's like real unique or real cool. You know, like the post office across the street, that's a really nice looking building. This one is, if you look at it, it's kind of boring, so to speak, right? My thought was to just level the whole corner and then use that as a blank slate for redevelopment down there. You know, like I said, it was wasn't sure where I was at, but that's kind of where I landed. And now that we'll have that, we'll just look to redevelop. I just hate to see buildings sitting there for no reason that may or may not ever be redeveloped, I guess, is my thought.
But the city says, the city at least owns that site as it is now, just by the way things have worked. Because
of the historic nature of the building when it was built, it does provide the opportunity for those historic tax credits and things like that for a developer. So that was the main purpose of leaving it there, is because when you're redeveloping, you could add on to that building or you can reconfigure, but having that history of 1904 allows for those tax credits, and that's what a lot of developers rely on to make projects work. So I understand why it's still standing there. I just, my small opinion was just kind of like, well, do we really need it? Is someone going to develop it? Because like you mentioned earlier, we do have some vacant buildings downtown already, right? If we were chock full of everything, then maybe it would be a different thought in my mind. But that's kind of where I was at. And then Music on the Avenue, all that stuff. We're doing so many good things down there. And I've driven down there multiple times, like try to go in for lunch or something, and you got to circle the block to find a parking spot. At the time, maybe it'd be good just to be parking for now until we get a developer, right? But those are just my thoughts on that process.
I wasn't on your list, but you mentioned the post office.
Yeah.
Again, who owns that? The city can do anything about that? People often drive down there and go, why can't somebody do something with that building? What's the status of that? I know it's probably not on your list, but
Sure.
You mentioned that, and they kind of are, they're across the street from each other, so people see them maybe it's together.
Yeah, so I can't remember the name of the owners exactly. It changed hands probably 2 years ago. It got sold to somebody, and then the development process just has not started or happened yet. I know they had some big ideas of what they wanted to do, but there is also not a ton of free money out there to do those types of things, right? So at the moment, it's just stalled, and there's nothing going on there, and I don't know if there's any short-term or long-term plans to see something happen there.
But it's not the city. The city doesn't own it. The city can't control that part of it.
Yeah.
So people clarify that's.
Yeah.
They may call you up and say, hey, do something. Well,
right.
The city doesn't own at this point.
We are doing the same thing that we do with anyone that has a vacant and abandoned building. They're getting their notices. They're getting if it comes to that point, there are fines and things like that can come down the line. So all of that stuff is happening like it's supposed to per our code, but we can't force anything, no.
Okay. Well, quickly, what's next on your list? We kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah, just a couple things. The North Bridge obviously is closed. So that's going to be going until like November. So just want to make sure everybody knows that if you haven't heard about it already. And then I think another construction project that might cause a little bit of a stir is the trail on 13th Avenue North here is going to be started. We just signed all the temporary easement agreements and everything from the meeting on Tuesday night. So that's going to start happening. So there could be some construction and a little bit of maybe a detour or two if we needed around there with the equipment coming in to build that. So I think those are two projects or two things that are, just happening now that are important for people to know.
I was interested because I know the last time I talked to Jason, he said they didn't know if they get 13th Avenue or that trail started yet this year. Or it all depended upon contracts and construction and who got the bid when they could start work. So it's nice here. This is actually going to get started this year.
We're making the steps. Yep. So we're getting there, and hopefully nothing delays it, and it happens, because obviously I think it's going to be a really cool thing to have that running down the middle of the town here. So.
Well, we'll talk more with Clinton Mayor Scott Maddasion after our weather break.
The WQAD Storm Track 8 weather forecast for the Clinton area is brought to you by Morrison Community Hospital.
More humidity. That's the biggest thing you're going to notice here for your Thursday. That humidity will combine with temperatures in the upper 80s this afternoon to make it feel like the low 90s. There'll also be a stray shower thunderstorm later today as well. Stray shower storm possible tonight. Temperatures dropping into the mid-60s. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Sutsky.
Right now in Clinton, Iowa, it's 71 degrees.
The weather forecast for the Clinton area from WQAD Storm Track 8 has been brought to you by Morrison Community Hospital.
Feeling under the weather? Skip the long waits and visit your neighborhood walk-in clinic. Meet the trusted providers at Morrison Community Hospital. Brandon Daniels and Melissa Miner are ready to get you back on your feet fast. A sudden cold, a sprain, or just peace of mind, they're here with expert care. No appointment needed. Because your health matters, they promise to treat you with compassionate, convenient care. Walk in today and walk out feeling better. Visit Morrison Community Hospital Family Care Walk-In Clinic, because your health can't wait.
Clinton Mayor Scott Maddasion with us on our FYI program, because visiting. You mentioned that trails. That's going to 13th Avenue North. Watch out. There'll be. I'm not sure which end they're going to start at. But that trail, is it going to? Is the contract for all the way to the middle school?
Yep. Down
to I think 4th or 3rd Street. So it's all one contract.
Correct. Yep. And then. So it'll basically connect the downtown area all the way up to, and then it's going to actually go from the middle school over to the Erickson Center. So that will be part of it as well. So the trail will go all the way to there. And it's on the list for the Trails Advisory Committee. I don't know where it ranks in their priority, but I would love to see the trail extended then from the middle school to Mill Creek, and then take Mill Creek over to 19th, right, where the trail is already. We'd have a really cool little loop there on the trail side of things. I mean, in a perfect world, got all the money you want, having the trail down Mill Creek would be really cool as well. Take you all the way down to by the Clinton Auto Group there, and all the way up to Main Avenue.
Well, I know it says one of the walking paths that been on says you go down around manufacturing. We'll talk about that. Springdale, because it has a bit of a bike path. You can walk there, even though there's not a sidewalk. There is a bike path. So we sneak along the street, come up, catch now the new trail on Springdale over to 19th, and back down 19th to home. So good walk. Good. That would be a good path.
Yeah, walkability and bikeability and things like that is a big thing right now. A lot of people are, that's one thing that folks look at when they move to a community too. They look at that network of trails and how they can get different places, because electric bikes even and all that kind of stuff are a big thing these days. It's not just cars anymore.
Yeah. What's next on your list? We got a couple of trails now.
Just wanted to give a quick update over the weekend. We had Tailgate and Tall Boys over the weekend, and outside of the rain on Saturday, everything went really smooth. Everything was good, and I didn't even know this during the festival, but it rained for 2.5 hours here. It didn't rain a drop in Comanche, is what people are telling me. So it must have been just over the grounds where we all got drenched for 2 hours. But we had a strong weekend. Attendance was down from year two. We saw some growth from year 1 to year 2. This year we saw a little bit of a regression in ticket sales and things. And that really, there could be a million factors that is. It could have been lineup, could have been price, could be just the economy. It could have been the weekend because school was still going on that week. There's a lot of things that could factor into why that is. But basically, I don't have the exact scan-in numbers right now. I'm waiting on all those to be compiled and sent over to me. But we had about 5,000 people, maybe a little bit more on Thursday, and then we were in that 8,000 to 9,000 range on both Friday, and then Saturday. By the end of the night, we were at that number. We didn't get that number early on, obviously because of the rain, deterred some people from coming in. So really, we're maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people per day behind of where we were last year. And again, what those factors could be, we don't know. I mean, everything we did everything that was in our control. That we could do, and we expected to see some growth year 2 to year 3, and we didn't, but we'll continue to work on that and see there. But one thing to note, Grow Clinton gave me this. Hotel stays were up Wednesday 26% from last year to this year during this weekend. Thursday was 5%, Friday 20%, and Saturday 7.2%. So our hotel stays were actually up from what they were last year during this weekend, which is interesting because we did have less camping sold this year. So I don't know if there's a correlation there. More people decided to stay in a hotel instead of camp. But overall, it was a good weekend, and always want to say thank you to the Wild Rose Casino for being our title sponsor. They're an awesome partner, and we had over 50 sponsors this year from the $500 level up to $20,000. So just a heartfelt thank you to all the sponsors, because really we've got tremendous support from our business and sponsor community over the 3 years, and it's really wonderful to be partners with everyone.
Maybe early yet in the process. I believe it was a 3-year contract for this. What's the future with this promoter, another promoter? What's the future of? And if it's somebody else, maybe you can't call it Tailgate and Tall Boys if it's a different person. But of a festival like this, what's the future? What are your plans? This was kind of something you and Josh Eggers were the drivers on. What are you thinking? Yeah, so we are at the end of our contract. We have to settle out this year. Obviously, it takes about 30 to 45 days to kind of get everything settled out. Maybe a little longer because the USA Concerts go straight to Bloomington this week. They start today in Bloomington, right? So they're pretty occupied with that stuff. If we want to do a new contract, which I hope we do, we would need to start booking artists for next year by August, like September at the latest. So we kind of have that window to get something worked out, so to speak. So I'm hoping that by the end of the summer or August at some point we have an answer whether we're going to do this again or not. I can't speak for Josh, but I think working with USA Concerts has been a wonderful experience. They understand our aspects from a city perspective. And they're very attentive to, hey, we need to do this way because we're a city, right? And I think that's a really good thing to have. I don't know if everybody you work with would have that same perspective that's in that industry. A different promoter, I don't know if there's any of them out there that would want to come here or want to partner with the city or whatever it is. So I guess that's always a possibility. I don't know who that would be, though, either. We kind of find out about this one, and I reached out to Wayne, and he came in, and then we kind of ran from there. So it wasn't like we did a process where I talked to like 5 or 6 different promoters first. This was someone in town gave me their name, and we just, said, hey, do you want to come to Clinton? And that's kind of how that worked out. So. And this is one where the city's been involved in the contract, where in some places they go, the city's not directly involved. USA Concerts may lease the space or rent the space or things like that, where this is a little different factor where the city's more involved.
We're probably one of the few places that have an arrangement like we do where we are a 50-50 partner. And the reason that came about was generally, you're exactly right, they go to a fairgrounds in the middle of nowhere or a big field and they rent it and they throw this big festival and then everything kind of goes away, right? Whereas our festival is like downtown in the middle of the city, and the city owns the ground. So it's kind of a unique scenario. Could we lease them the ground and let them use it for that day? I'm sure we could, and just let them come in and do that. Not sure if they would want to do it that way or not. This was kind of as we had those talks. Man, it's almost like 4.5 years ago now that we started the conversations. This was a way to be able to bring an event like this to Clinton. And obviously, 4.5 years ago, Josh and I didn't know much about the festival stuff. We've learned a lot as we've gone through. So 4.5 years ago, I don't know we would have been able to do this on our own. I don't know if we would have had the resources, the foresight, or even the connections to even, bring a Jason Aldean or a Tim McGraw here, right? I'm sure if Josh and I would have called down to Nashville, they would have been like, "Who are you guys?" kind of thing, But having the promoters on our side really helps because they have a great reputation down there. So, I'm really hopeful that we can get a new contract. Josh and I have already kind of worked on what we think it should look like going forward, and then as they finish up their festival in Bloomington, we'll meet with them and we'll kind of pitch it to them, and we'll see if we can kind of come to a tentative agreement. And then obviously nothing is valid or final until we take it and present it to the city council and have them vote on it. So
Before we get done, what else is on your list quickly? So we want you to make sure you get through everything.
Sure. I actually only have one more thing on there, and that was to remind everybody that the Juneteenth celebration is on Monday, the 16th, from 5 to 8 down at the ballpark. It's a free event, and they're going to have I think it's bounce houses and puppet shows and all this cool stuff down there. So I've taken my kids down there the last couple years to that, and it's always a fun event. So if you're not bored, or if you're not busy on Monday night, come on down to that and have some fun. So
it was on your list quickly too. We mentioned earlier during the break, manufacturing drive. The city continues to issue updates kind of on that process. A lot of work, some detours. I'm sure you're continuing to work and refine some of those things. Maybe you plan a detour. Maybe it doesn't work out quite the way you thought. Maybe you change plans, but that work is going to be ongoing.
Yeah.
So and the city, I think, has been working to get things updated.
Yeah, and it's everything's going along as scheduled right now. Weather's been pretty permissive for them to keep their work going. And I don't know if you've been down there, but when you turn over there to go on South Bluff towards Harts Mill Road there, where they tore out that little curve, it's a pretty deep hole. They went down pretty deep to get all the stuff out of there as they're going through. So yeah, I mean, we're starting to see some things be completed on the side streets and stuff like that. We're going to see some bridges and things like that completed. So we're going to actually see the fruits of the labor here soon as things start changing and they get some pavement put back down. But all in all, it's going to be a 3-year process minimum from manufacturing all the way down to finish the bluff side. And we've had to detour some detours, but we just got to be patient. And we got to know that at the end of this, we're going to have a really, really great product that's going to be a highly traveled corridor for our city, and it's going to be good.
And we'll throw this as again, you're not the construction person, but do you know the plan says if they get a section done from 30 to 19th or something, will they open things up as they go once they're completed, or is it going to be closed while, you know what I'm saying?
Nope.
As they go? I don't know how that construction process is going to work.
Yeah,
maybe you don't either.
As we get stuff done, it's going to be opened. So right now, that first bridge they're working on, once that bridge gets done, they're going to start the next bridge. So then the detour, mainly for Nestle and a couple of those businesses there, now that's going to change. They're going to have to come in the other way. So they're going to open things as they can, and hopefully, again, timelines keep us in line and everything is moving good. So,
well, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate the time. Let's get back to work now.
All right.